That means say you're too thin for almost height for their age, and 37 million were overweight and I say obese. These are findings that are reported by the CDC. Na nye hu pa enti me choose sa mani kun sa topic yi ho. 3/4, 75% of Black infants are ever breastfed, which is way below the national average, which is 84%. And no crano, they are fighting to WHO and UNICEF and Healthy Children's Project, goals no for 2030 no is to fight set your numbers as 84% no of babies ever breastfed no will shoot up into the 90s, where we're getting a grade A for breastfeeding and breastfeeding exclusively. And you know, the disparity, there's a grave disparity in Black mothers that nurse their babies compared to white mothers that nurse their baby. Not CDC Fortress say one of the possibilities, and that is an issue. And then they said Black mothers who are less likely than whites to breastfeed their babies. Hospitals in neighborhoods that are predominantly Black or have Black residents do less to promote nursing than those in areas with more white residents there. And you and I, this is the purpose for why we are sharing this information. Say, yebe bohun dero, namenewo, yachechre, afofro, yenhu, na yetimi esua, how are yemanofo breastfeeding, why are ye important? Enti here say, ye nyina, ye encourage yenhu, na ye mamenom etimi manofo. Ebia so oye bema and that's all your young lady unyandra so obectrain say adentina sa information way a family home. This is the exact reason why. It's because even though say oye young na unyandru say obewono uni mwadamfo bi ebia wawo sa information you ubetimi achrechere no bi papa ana wo hanom wo yire unya baby, you can share it with them and be a support to them, because studies is showing say the act of breastfeeding, those who choose to breastfeed, it's not theoretical knowledge. I say yeah papa no quanti no breastfeed it's because of the other support e ben omo motivate omo show mo crying boa omo said nia wo ye no yet to aso dindie ba to aso no encourage Emma sa pure level support boa ye Emma mothers choose to breastfeed and stick to breastfeeding for its full benefits. Afe mommy say breastfeeding no crano yewo differentiations, categories of breastfeeding. Yewo exclusive breastfeeding ewo ho, ena yewo predominant breastfeeding, and then we have complementary feeding. Na okay yewo direct and deferred. Sa exclusive breastfeeding no enone top tier level of nursing yepese Mami bia obe choose breastfeeding ya pese utimi eye. Exclusive breastfeeding means that the infant receives only breast milk. No other liquids or solids are given, not even water, with the exception of only abia dro sacrano ehia drobia rehydration solutions, drops or syrups for vitamins and minerals. Those kinds of things for Accra or Yare. And predominant breastfeeding, and no HSA infants are predominant source of nutrition every breast milk breast milk no fusiono main aduane, but yes so emma insuo ena omusansu enya other water-based drinks for ritual type fluids, such as tea and oral hydration, and again, vitamins and minerals, and as such. Ena yesanso ewo breastfeeding in general. No, it's not listed on my picture here, but breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is another category. This means that the infant is predominantly receiving human milk as well as any other foods or fluids, including infant formula. Na complementary feeding no amra abofwa no edi 6 months to 23 months no. That period no o add solids to se omo eda so take breast milk na and no near friend of complementary feedings into no or da so no for or na say da so twe no fusio de mano but osan so edi and no na e ma omo cocoa ne cereals ne vegetables ayayam ne sanyoma no ye de ma omo kakra no enti those are the categories of breastfeeding. Exclusive no and ne the top tier, such as I said. And no na ye pese ankrankre bia adhere to. Enti who and I say those governing agencies are mekayano. Oma ye nhwehwemu, so research is showing say in order to exclusively breastfeed no, which is the ideal, which is what we want all mothers to be able to do, and it's the most effective form of nutrition for an infant no. Almost there are 10 steps bia. I was say o follow and no beboa ama watimi adhere to sa exclusive breastfeeding no. Nufusion kwan na de mema abofra no from birth to 6 months until some best started complementary feeding no. And no say if you initiate breastfeeding within the first hour after delivery. So within the first hour after delivery, there's a window of about 2 hours. Encouraging bibia your friend a skin to skin care. Yeah, the albofrano etso o mameno eyefnu so ansana na wodia no crab epiabano. Yeah, the abofrana to mameno yefrun so directly onto your skin. Ti abofrana skin no air touch mameno skin no inti no abofrana da mameno skin ne so sa and no eboa emma all the hormonal changes that happen behind the scenes no etimi take place eboa emma mamene abofrano etimi start sa bonding process no within that time period no. And so SAT strategies that medi kan some promotion, protection, and support, these are the things that we are pushing in order to encourage mothers to choose SA exclusive breastfeeding. Promotion focus on the advantages of breastfeeding, and we're going to talk about that. Advantages on a personal level, on a community level, country, or global level. Protection focus on governmental and manufacturer social responsibilities to breastfeeding. Into who UNICEF those governing agencies promote to sa code of practice group BI from the code regulate how formula is advertised in hospitals. Into per se senior formula advertising formula they say no, don't offer formula products to mothers. First okwa unkofie na ya chichire yi bag bia ma ya formula samples ya like nyoma bebre formula advertising gifts. And mama no free a hospital Hong Kong because of sa as a pampering yeah, the amount through that advertising, no. Na na june cry cause say and cry na minja no for na main comma a formula because it's an easier way. It's a more readily available way. But yeah, and saa agencies no say mama yen promote to breastfeeding, advertise breastfeeding no at the level you advertise formula no. And saa code no, even though so almost suppressive formula use no, they're not banning formula use in hospitals, or obviously not banning formula use to the public, but and I almost mean so and hide it and your ma what formula nim enye. They still have to present all that stuff, but they say munlowa sadia no na mum pushy breastfeeding no rather. Support also focuses on interaction with helpers, with family, as well as program developers. So people like myself, lactation counselors or family members, ye culture muno or bawa mamefua ewo efie no omo ye very involved in the care of the child. You know, omo neche fanofo no to abofra no num enti sa groups of people no say it me educating it me ma reasons why breastfeeding no yes so important, exclusive breastfeeding yes so important ebeboa ama those helpers no wa busuanim etimi aboa a supporto mama no in her decision to breastfeed. The same way, if uni support her, say oftentimes the disparities in African Americans are even say, oh, me mommy I'm breastfeeding me. Missy Wabi say, oh man of what say. Hospital ho bi bewa be hunane ma mechen oh ma kom dia plano mano formula nane hontono enti understanding ena education ena tarabia eni ho enti na ye make those choices no. So if we can reach those people, we can support the family, thereby supporting the mother in the decision or even encouraging the mother to choose exclusive breastfeeding. And the enamo mayen she sa breastfeeding, you know, how does it even take place? How does it even take place? Yeah, picture ya mediato ho ya. Breastfeeding, you know, idea a developer. So, okay, picture ya. Breast no is the breast is developed or it's made up of glandular tissue and adipose tissue. So adipose tissue no fat tissue and glandular tissue no no for tissue sa Sister Jessica kan ho asem baby say ubenya breast cancer, those areas no affected no. This is the anatomy the same anatomy kan ho asem and you know baby I'm a person no one tissue developed between the ages of 12 and 15. Now when say no for na pija na fe fat tissue no build it no not just say no for no ya kesie na glandular tissue no and no tissue na make milk no and no and so akesie wom and na nyini ewo no for nim. Nti so hwe sa box ya omacha picture of glandular tissue no sa glandular tissue no made up of alveolus cells bia sa alveolar cells no sac bia no fusuo no ejinemu is collected in there and around that sac no so no and bibia ye friend no myoepithelial cells no hold sac no in place, but it also can stretch and squeeze sac no in order for it to eject milk. Into ejected some milk na lactiferous ducts no are connected to glandular tissue no lactiferous ducts no tubes bia enumuna channels enumuna milk no after it's squeezed from the alveolus no ebe fasa tube no na epie every no for no ano enti no for no holes there are little channels that come up to the milk ducts lead to the nipple into little holes ebeboa na squeezy sa milk no free mu. So and no saying these big words that we see here, galactogenesis and lactogenesis. No, galactogenesis, no, how the milk is made, and lactogenesis, no, how the milk lets down, how the milk is released from the human body. Into some processes, not like I'm so excited because it just reinforces sa message ye ready how indeed we are so fearfully and wonderfully made, and our soul knows it so well because all these little details that God put into place in order your body no be generate milk, that milk that is full of such nutrients that be sustaining nipa oh na nyame ho enwanwa pa ye. Na hormones be related to sa process, hormones of lactation. Na sa hormones no released after the mother gives birth. After birth, no placenta no release ria. And na unipadua no your brain, there's a spot in your brain, pituitary gland no. Your brain sends signals na release hormones of prolactin and oxytocin. Asa hormones no anadro na nipadua no creating no and no ene catcher will no for no say okay say akra no we peer free nipadua nim, and then that skin to skin period na air kosono, the heat from your body extends from your breast to the baby to keep the baby warm, and then the baby starts to feel the heat of the breast, and your baby will start to peck around. And the baby pecks around, is looking around from birth, looks around, till se ebe no fono. Omo freno self-attachment. The baby will find the nipple and self-attach. Well, they don't say, or they no si hona wastatia sucker right away. Sometimes they need assistance, collaborative assistance to get there. But naturally, the babies know to go to the nipple, and they will start using their fist. They'll start using their fist to knead the breast. And as they're kneading the breast, that releases more of that prolactin and oxytocin, also known as our feel-good hormones. And nama will feel relaxed, and nama will feel some pleasure. And si sadia no koso na baby no astate eba. That stretching of the nipple, that licking of the nipple that the baby is doing, what Emma will brain who say, oh, this we need to release prolactin because that milk that's in those alveolar cells needs to be let out for this baby. Into that process, and that a release milk, a free alveolar cells nim na appear free lactiferous channels nim na akogu abofrano enum. Na abofrano has to learn to suck though into our methods of latching a baby. Breastfeeding consultants or counselors can assist you for first-time mothers to be able to latch your baby correctly in that way. And sa process no kosono na nufusio no astateba. Sa nufusio na edi kind ba no your friend a colostrum. Na, excuse me, your friend a colostrum. And that nufusio no is made naturally. It's a thick substance, a thicker, it's higher in fat, and it's made to sustain your baby within the first days of life. And the composition of breast milk no nia adia nufusio no eban nia womu no enhwehwemu ekire say majority of nufusio content eye nsuo 87% water, about 1% protein, 7% eye carbs, carbohydrates no eye in the form of lactose, not galactose, and not 4% fat content. And then there are other bioactive components that make up the breast milk, such as vitamins and minerals, bacteria, good bacteria. There's like 800 different strains of bacteria, immune cells, antibodies, all these, like the breast milk is packed with all these goodies, hormones that able to facilitate the healthy growth of your baby in through adulthood. Now, roughly, no, enkola emofra, 60% of human body is made up of H2O, with insuo, depending on your age, your sex, your hydration status. Babies have a higher percentage of water, and it starts to decrease as they age. And untina, ye mofra, ye almost suggest this, ma abofra insuo prior to 6 months, no, 4 months, 6 months range, no. Because nufusio comes pre-made. Everything is made and ready to go. You don't have to add anything to it. You don't have to do anything to it. You just feed it to your baby. For any reason, because they are already saturated with it. Yes, you are diluting the system, the baby system. Can say breastfeeding right after delivery, between that 1 to 2 hour window, no, significantly, research is showing that it significantly increases your milk supply by day 4, and for preterm babies by day 7, it increases milk supply, and up to day 42, no, they get even more. And you know, utimi hu say nufusua wa hey no, day 3, day 5, day 6, 25 going. The color no cry are different because the early ages no fat content no yeah more. It's so rich and packed with all the nutrients and everything, and the same with the rest, but the fat content changes from feeding to feeding, from day to day, from month to month. So the big push is practice skin to skin no. Yeah ma minum e ma mo kwa woso facility almost follow baby-friendly ideologies. Baby-friendly ideologies, skin to skin. Even if you are having a C-section, they should encourage skin to skin as much as possible. Do not allow them to give your baby any formula in the hospital. Breastfeed your baby. They also have donor breast milk. Milk that's donated by other women, and it's screened, it's pasteurized, and it's treated like blood products, so it's safe for your baby. Choose that. That option is expensive. They do sell it. They charge it's like $8 per 1 milliliter or something like that. In your hospital, I don't know, charge it. It's insane. And why not just breastfeed and use your own if breastfeeding should not be painful. Yes, there's a level of discomfort to it when you're a first-time mom doing it, because it's not because the process is painful. Sometimes we have some practices that education, and it causes injury, or there's some outlying conditions that we might have tenderness and pain with it. But overall, if breastfeeding is done efficiently and effectively, it should not be painful. It may be uncomfortable for a while, but not painful. You should breastfeed your baby 8 to 12 times in a 24-hour period. All these things, are things to know that will help in our breastfeeding to take off, breastfeeding volume to come in, your milk to come in, mature milk to come in, and sustain wonderful, wonderful breastfeeding experience. Sa nufusio no, eboa ema pretermers. Abofra or daho kitwe say no. Breastfeeding is the best option for them. These little ones may not be able to go to breast and suckle at the breast because they have a weak suck reflex or don't have it at all. So they need to practice that. But in the interim, no, you can say breastfeeding can be direct or deferred, meaning say obetimi apompe, obetimi atwe no fusio no normal dia fa tube mu ama abofra no. And see, there are many benefits to breastfeeding exclusively. Breast milk is more than just nutrition. The availability of bioactive components are at what breastfeeding, such as antibodies, hormones, good bacteria. About breastfeeding composition. No, it supports the healthy growth of the baby's immune system. And their lungs are protected, their gut is protected. And it prevents asthma, obesity, diabetes, and severe lower respiratory diseases, ear infections, sudden infant death syndrome. There's no explanation for it. And gastrointestinal infections like diarrhea. Almost say 86% of the babies are spared death from diarrhea-related illnesses. And necrotizing enterocolitis, a condition involving the gut, gastrointestinal condition, inflammation, say usually affected preterm babies. But I find they say, it helps protect these kids from developing sa DWC. Benefits of breastfeeding. I'll say breastfeeding lowers the risk of breast cancer. The whole thing that we've been treating this month, breast cancer, ovarian cancer, this lowers the risk dramatically. Dramatically. It's insane how much it lowers the risk. Not research pointing out say almost breastfeeding for at least the 23 months, no, that 2-year time frame, no. A higher percentage of reduced risk, if you understand where I'm coming from at. So almost risk, no, is even further reduced the longer you nurse for and how often you have nursed. And say one nurse abofra bako, anasa one nurse abofra mienu, anasa miensano. Your risk, your percentage of risk, no, is enlarged, and I say your coverage of lower risk, no, is higher because of breastfeeding. So you have more coverage the longer you breast and however often you breastfeed for. I hope that makes sense. And mother's benefits, Bino Susune say, it protects against diabetes, type 2 diabetes, blood pressure conditions. So sometimes in pregnancy, women develop diabetes, gestational diabetes, but the act of breastfeeding, no, negates that risk of becoming diabetic, becoming fully type 2 diabetic after delivery just by breastfeeding. Other benefits, it's just convenient. It's convenient. You don't have to worry about packaging up your baby's food, warming up your baby's food. Everything is ready to go. You just have to pop your baby on there. And fiscally responsible. It's economically wise to do that, especially now with these tariff times we live in, with prices the way they are. Those who formula feed are paying a lot more to feed their baby their source of nutrition than if they would breastfeed. Breastfeed also improves IQ, school attendance, and is associated with higher income in adult life. That's what research shows. So there we go with that. Mami, oh yeah, dear pa, oba nembano nofo, eye kama pa. Myths about breastfeeding. So there's so many old wives' tales and myths and things we hear about breastfeeding. Let's go through some of them. Something that you may hear is breastfeeding is so easy. That's a myth. It may not be very easy. Breastfeeding is a work in progress. Mom is learning, baby is learning. Although it's a natural thing, it is something that is learned as well. And let's keep that in mind. You have to work towards it and be motivated and dedicated to stick with it, even though it might be a little uneasy at times. But God intended it to be easy and to be natural, but no for o ma no for na ehon and semsem bebre. It's unusual for breastfeeding to hurt. Sore nipples are it's usual for breastfeeding to hurt. Sore nipples are inevitable. No, breastfeeding should not be painful. It should not be toe curling. Oh, manufana, what conscience so then yeah. That's not how breastfeeding should be. If that is the case, there's a problem with the latch and we need to correct the latch. Or there's a problem with mom's anatomy and we need to find solutions to work around your anatomy. You should wash your nipples before breastfeeding. Not necessarily. Breast milk, the contents within breast milk, it coats that area. And unless it is not necessary. Although if you choose to, it's a personal preference. It's not a prerequisite. You should separate the newborn and mother to let the mother rest. Although it's necessary for the mother to rest because the process of laboring and delivery and child caring is so exhausting, but you do not need to separate the mother and baby unless, say, medical conditions of mother or baby requires that separation. But in Nokrano, as soon as mother or baby is stable, you must reunite the dyad so that they can be together, because babies show certain cues to feeding. Babies have a keen sense of smell. They know when their mothers are around. They know when papa or mama is around, and they're through their smell. And so they can smell the milk, and that will elicit those nursing cues, And if they're separated, that doesn't happen very well. And a mother cannot learn baby's cues, nor baby be able to tell mother cues. It's okay though, say in between breastfeeding session, not odi abofrano ato ne crib moon next to you, and I say, mommy be a bang will nipa be dofo be bang wa all was abofrano na o keep abofrano na wet me adaka krano. It's fine. That's not separation. That separation, can't say wait that dime we say na wait and not while you are in the hospital, or show them now I send it with baby, to the nursery, said nursery for no entry Obama and all the time. You should only eat plain food while breastfeeding. That's a myth. You can eat naturally. We encourage mothers to eat healthy, balanced diet according to our pyramid, our food pyramid. You eat according to food pyramid. Actually, research is showing first night drink mothers get a lot of calories for breastfeeding. It is not really that necessary. I'm gonna say at least add the crown of 500 calories more. And now here, but no cry is not necessary as long as you are eating a well-balanced, healthy meals. You will generate breast milk appropriately. Now, nuncio appropriately, you will generate breast milk appropriately. Exercise will affect the taste of your milk. Myth. That doesn't happen. You won't be able to breastfeed unless you do it right away. it is encouraged to do it right away because the natural processes that are happening in your body, helps you to get your milk volume, to start coming in, And Tina, you encourage that, but the mammophobia or hard, they haven't decided right away, and they then decide maybe a day later or so. Say, afedia mema nufusio. When you start putting that baby to breast, because breast milk, is generated by nipple stimulation, nipple stretching, and nipple stroking, releases the hormones of lactation, prolactin and oxytocin, so that that stretching, can squeeze those alveolar cells, push them through the lactiferous ducts, and get it to your baby. You're gonna have to work a little harder, but you can still achieve breastfeeding even if you start later. So don't let that be your reason to not breastfeed. You can never use formula if you want to breastfeed. Remember, we talked about categories of breastfeeding. If you are just breastfeeding, yes, some people choose to add formula for one reason or another. Mamiphobia or honoma, they have issues with their anatomy. There's a condition called Raynaud's syndrome, where because of dilation and constriction within the nipple, it causes some pain when cold air hits their nipple. It's fine. But from afar, e constricted kakrabia pain be power feminine. And sometimes those mothers choose not to breastfeed. Not that it's contraindicated, not that they can't breastfeed, but it's just painful for them. And so they may choose a different method for getting that milk into their baby, other than directly attaching the baby. And so some people choose to include formula. The only thing I will add here is those who choose to include formula, do your research and find formula ingredients that woman, make sure you know, because there are some ingredients in the formula and nuntina ye promote say mama no fusiono because no na nyame hyehyɛ say mfama mmofra na healthier formula no omo said preservatives bi wo mu a friend cadmium na omo ye research nhwehwɛ mu kyerɛ sɛ mamefo a omo nom cigarettes no omo ma ewo bibi a friend cotinine and cadmium levels. It's microscopa, it causes problems, physiologic changes, friending. Sa cadmium na smoking mom's breast milk muno. Cotinine na muno. Cadmium no so no use sa cadmium no in formula. And that's that same a metallic a metal preservative be good formula, some formulas, not all, some formulas. That same compound, and no cigarettes, it's in cigarettes too. Cigarettes to preserve the cigarettes too. So, obano wa unye smoker no, oba formula bia what's that components no and you're safe for your child. So just be mindful, not that you can't give formula if the need is present. Many mothers can't produce enough milk. No, if there's a lack of milk volume or milk production, it's not just one cause usually. Usually it's either latch problems, there's how frequent you're putting baby to breast, short frequent feedings. Remember we said 8 to 12 times in a 24-hour period you should be feeding your baby. And so by 7 days, you should be making like 600 milliliters of breast milk for your baby. Now there are some mothers who may not make that because there's some mothers that have what they call hypoplastic breasts. I'm not saying breast tissue underdeveloped. They make colostrum, they make early milk, but they don't go on to make volume for their children. And you need to follow up and well child checkup, so that we can follow up in all these things. If your baby is pooping, that is a telltale sign of good breastfeeding, pooping and gaining weight. Babies tend to drop weight initially after delivery, those initial days, but by 12 to 14 days, no say reach birth weight and some. Breast milk, exclusively breastfed babies, breast milk, yes, they gain like an ounce per day if they are drinking milk adequately. You shouldn't breastfeed if you're sick. Actually, this is part of the miracle of breastfeeding. When you are sick or your baby is sick, the act of your baby going to breast, you speak to each other. Your babies, especially babies that go to daycare, they pick up all kinds of germs. They come, when that baby latches onto their mother's breast, there are information cells that go from the baby's mouth through mom's breast into her body and tells her brain, your baby's sick. There's some certain bacteria and viruses floating around in here. Then the mom's milk is pumped full of antibodies and other good bacteria that fight off these sick cells. And so when you are sick, your antibodies helps protect your child actually during breastfeeding. Sano funciona. Very amazing. You can't take any medication if you're breastfeeding. That is incorrect as well. It's a myth. Although there aren't very many medications that you can't take and breastfeed, but there are some that you just need, there are cautions against it. And you need to verify with your healthcare provider what medications are safe for your baby. Babies who have been breastfed are clingy. Babies, that's how they speak to us. They cry to speak to us. Crying does not mean hunger all the time. That doesn't mean they're clingy. They're just telling us, hey, mom, I want to feel your body heat. Hey, dad, I want you to hold me. That's what they're telling us. Doesn't mean they're clingy. It's hard to wean a baby if you breastfeed for more than a year. The process of weaning is baby-led. If your baby is ready to wean, they will wean even before a year if they so want. If your baby is not ready to wean, you will just have to practice weaning steps with your baby. So that should not be a deterrent to breastfeeding. If you go back to work, you'll have to wean your baby. No, you do not have to wean your baby if you're going back to work. You can pump your milk and have whoever is watching your baby have that available to feed your baby. So those are things that you can work towards. Beautiful, beautiful breastfeeding, mom and baby. Contraindications to breastfeeding. There are not very many contraindications to breastfeeding yet, but a few to go through that is most glaring. Sa galactosemia. Galactosemia, lactase deficiency. Inti nufusiono. Remember we talked about the components of breast milk. One of it is carbohydrates. Lactose, no, any galactose. Okay, basically it breaks down into sugar. Sugar, sugar nipeduano energy to develop and to grow. Galactosemia, a lactase deficiency in which the baby, for some, it is genetic, for some reason, they lack lactase, enzyme, via ebetimia breakisa lactose and galactose, into the simple sugars, for the body to utilize as energy. And it builds up into their system and then causes very many problems. It deposits into their brain and to other organs, causes severe jaundice and other things that those babies omuwa galactosemia, there are special formulas that have been developed for them. And so no obano yese on specific formula understandable for that condition, it's a disease process. And you might hear some mamas say, oh, my baby is allergic to my milk. Babies aren't allergic to breast milk. Milk is species specific. Human milk, hedgehog milk, cow milk, ningina has lactose, ewum. Nipeduano has to break it down. Into nipeduano, it already has a lactase enzyme, but for some babies, they are not born with that enzyme. Intina sa dewe contraindicated for breastfeeding. Mothers who have HIV, mothers who have untreated sad word way, I've never been able to say it, brucellosis, and suspected or confirmed Ebola, that goes without explanation. They do not encourage breastfeeding in this instance. Mothers who are taking street substances, street drugs, opioids, cocaine, heroin, they tell you do not breastfeed your baby because it's not measured. There's no guidelines towards it, and all those medicines, it does pass through the breast milk. The amount of which passes through, no, is minimal, but we don't know what's minimal enough to cause problems for your baby to encourage you to breastfeed while you are on street drugs. These same mothers who have substance dependence, no, if they come off the street drugs and are entered into a program such they are on a substance use program, monitor opioids, no, to try to wean them off of their addiction. And those mothers can breastfeed because levels, no, are monitored closely, and they are on a stringent and strict program. Monitor it, and the levels of the medicine that passes through to the child, it's very minimal, but it's enough to even sustain the child, because those children get it in utero anyway. Substance take, it's going to them. And they're withdrawing anyway. So those ones that are on a controlled program, we actually encourage them to feed their baby, because the baby will get a little bit and also have that maintenance of weaning off the medication or the dependence. That's where we're at. And things that are not contraindicated for breastfeeding, but you have to take caution with. Infants born to mothers who have hepatitis B or hepatitis C, as long as you don't have any cracked, bleeding nipples, you can breastfeed your baby. The moment your nipples start to be chafed or cracked where you see bleeding, you must pump and dump, so that your body still gets the stimulation, so your milk volume doesn't drop, because it's a demand and a supply type of a deal. And those situations, you pump and dump until that area heals and there's no more bleeding or chafed areas or cracked areas, then your baby can return to the breast. Mothers affected with West Nile virus, mothers with SARS-CoV, these are all conditions that you can still breastfeed through it. If you have COVID, they tell you to put a mask on during the time you're breastfeeding, and then you can remove it. Mothers with mastitis, you can still breastfeed. Actually, we encourage to breastfeed, because mastitis, is caused by sometimes infrequent emptying of the breast, leads to mastitis. Mothers who are febrile, unless the cause for the fever is contraindicated. Just because you have a fever does not mean you cannot breastfeed your baby. Mothers who have been exposed to environmental chemicals, mothers who have CMV, cytomegalovirus, a virus you can contract from encra feces. They tell you if you own cats, don't change cat litter and all that stuff. But you can breastfeed even though you have that. Mothers who smoke, they say although smoking is encouraged to be stopped or weaned while you are breastfeeding, because it affects milk supply, it decreases milk supply, and but you don't have to stop breastfeeding because you want to continue to smoke. For those that do smoke, that's not really an issue for our audience, but it is still something to know, so that you can educate a friend or someone who is in that predicament. Mothers who have occasional alcohol intake. So alcohol does pass through breast milk, so it is a good thing to pump and dump. They say that do not breastfeed your baby for a period of 2 hours before putting your baby back to breast. And babies with jaundice or hyperbilirubinemia, because or jaundice, all babies tend to have a level of jaundice, but severe jaundice, no. Again, you can still breastfeed your babies, but sometimes they want to add supplementation to it, along with other methods of treating the jaundice, depending on how high it is. And most maternal medications are safe, like I said, for breastfeeding. You just have to confirm and talk about it and ask about it. And Yankrano, as lactation counselors, no, we can't just tell you, say, this medication is safe or not. They want us to physically go on this website that's listed here, Lactation Med database. Anybody can access that website, put in the drug that you are inquiring about, and read it for yourself. That's what we are informed to do. We read it verbatim to you, and then you can decide, say, some medication, or you will still continue to take it or not. So the key here, and the list of all the sources program is listed there. The key here is promoting breastfeeding exclusively and encouraging that in our lives, in our communities, because of the health benefits that it has for us. That brings us to the end of my presentation. If there are any questions, this will be the time to ask.
Yo, sister, Nyamisha Obebre, Nyamima, Edisua pa na onam Erade nam na fna so ede amaye no mpacho se dem din kan kan se asembisa na se emwa bi wo ho a ache betimi di aba. Ejiri se na emuda hoyi na yebre no ekọ bebre so enye hwe mo fa nche yen acho se na ni first time abesra ya usually you pon around 8 eno nti na de ye topic ni ntia topic ni ho hia ye pa ti na ye de break akra aka ho nti se this asembisa na se emwa bi ani ho a Mr. D reporto ubetumi rapino amaye na se wano sia reporto also
my pastor check the chat you know why me da say
chat na yinum no Pacho obi bisa asembisa say any finding about how it helps them to be smart or not. And a second one also, can men help women with the nipple stimulation?
Yes, my patro, any finding about how it helps them to be smarter? No, I'll have to get more research information to you about that. But the act of breastfeeding, the composition of breastfeeding, in itself, it creates pathways within the brain. It prevents like developmental delays, and they can follow all their developmental milestones, and supersede it when breastfed, as opposed to what research is finding with alternative methods of feeding. Yes, men can help with nipple stimulation. Sometimes, mamifono, they have different breast sizes and nipple sizes. Ebi wɔ hɔnom a ɔmo nipples no aka kohyem, which we call inverted nipples, and not flat nipples. And you can help massage the nipple to pull out that nipple, depending on the grade of inversion. Some inverted nipples bi wɔ hɔnom a you can't evert it. That's just anatomy, and they just have to work around it and use other methods to pump that milk out. But yes, they can help by helping hold the breast, because depending on the size, no, no. Sometimes people think say oh no foso, not just say uni no fusio, no, and now no foso or no fusio bebre, no. It's positioning, but no for no so bebre, no. Sometimes they need help in how they hold it, krano, and that's where the dads can come in, helping hold the nipple, the breast in a way where the mom has the extra hands to be able to manipulate the nipple for the baby to latch onto it. I hope said that answered your question.
Pacho, software Smith, Pacho, obet mama thumbs up say, why you okay with the question I'll be saying with the answer now. Okay, I'm gonna take the silent to be yes. All right, Ms. Macho, Mama, study, like I said, obet me a rapping on my as a few minutes be na fe so I know see as of my
Yeah, thank you very much. Sir.
All right.
Yeah, that's it. I'm sure.
Answers exactly.
Yo, Ejidifo, Senia Yekayano, we are wonderfully and fearfully made by God, and we should take the first chair in promoting and participating in this act of breastfeeding exclusively, and encouraging each other, supporting each other through this process. And I'm always available if you have any personal questions to ask. I'm available for questions or for assistance if you need that. Intino, mome yen fa asempano entine ne encourage afufro say yen breastfeed rather than formula feed if we can help it.
Okay. Yeah, that's it. If much I did it for my in see it as now so my maybe some one pie instruction.
I'm trying bumpire. That was it. Nyame to me a day nyina ye. So abonye ho ban ene demu nyina. De chen so ne se wanam wafuna so akyerɛkyerɛ nneɛma bebree. In fact, ɛyɛ anikasɛm na ɛyɛ ahomekasɛm. Ti ebehu hawa yɛbɛwo baby no na obetimi asake enofo no. Ɛyɛ na ɛyɛ wonderful. Sɛ akra no etimi hu nofo no na otimi nya adwene bi kra sɛ ɔnfe no. Nyame wotumi ekasa se danka odi. Eso say yencheche mu yemfom so bi ba mu aiso se hu yemobo ne fa che. Na ebade no da ne dan na yentimi emra wona ase emetie wasem. Yede wase bebre se wona na yempanimfo iso acheche boso mi nyina no yesu about cancer. Cancer ye yare bia se eye obi a na ayayem hyehye na atu nipa no. Ti se yemu bi ebi hyehye ye ho a yenhu ye anase ebi wo bi so a wahu nenso ne ne dilia ye so je nipa kro eba wanim enanadwe. Eja ye body ye nkra ni pedwe na hye wo sase ona boy ye na nim honam nim akwa nyinara. Enti baby biara atechima ebo mpempe eba a beba bedi ye nya no ye so se di nkan esiesie ho maye.
Amen.
Ye so je anadwe ehye wo nsa. Ebra ye kwakodai yeso se boy ho ban mo abofo na emewen ye ade chi ni hu han fefe na yemfo wase dani da biarada ejai emma omu yi omu hu si ho bosumi nyina ekyerkyere nso hye wonsa hodin bia o mahwere bia na yesro patro pise hye o manemu hyehya wo na busua yenso ebetie nso so nerade ma ye remfi dani den na ma yenka kai se ebetimi massage ye no funumpo se ebetimi edi aduane ebetimi aboa ye ama ye timi anya hoden etimi fight some diseases and ye so se de bia da kakaye anadwo ye kranye pedwe na hye wonsa boy ho ban ne hwehwaye enene da wo Yesu dimunti amen.
Amen. Amen. Yo, yeah, that's it. Sir, wabon pie try. Mr. D, once again, yes, a cassette, Yankopon, in shall be break. I'm on a sumdue and now fear. Now, watching Munina.
Anytime, pray when you're sad, pray when you're glad, pray when you're weak, pray when you're strong, just pray and pray, 'cause anytime is prayer time. Pray, pray, pray anytime. Pray when you're sad. Pray when you're glad. Pray when you're weak. Pray when you're strong. Just pray and pray, 'cause anytime is prayer time. Ooh. The offices in heaven, they're opened up for you every second.